everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD.
It's JD. It's always JD.
Welcome
always
back
Michelle.
to the episode you just turned on. Literally right before we started recording. I hate to put you on blast here, but Michelle let out just the biggest. It has been a long day, long week, but I'm glad to be going into a holiday weekend yawn, and I'm gonna let several of those out before we're done here myself. How are you feeling right now, Michelle? Let's talk about it. Let's before we ever get into this movie nonsense. How you feeling right now?
I'm exhausted after chugging 16 ounces of Red Bull. It did not help.
Only
now
16,
I'm just
that's your
tired
problem.
and shaky. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know they
you gotta
make
go
bigger
for more
ones.
like 600. That'll really get you going.
I think that every time we record, I wind up making that a Red Bull night. I'm just always exhausted on the night.
Don't ask her on a straight Red Bull night. No, it doesn't work that well. The scansion's not right. Anyway, Michelle,
Right.
it's We Watch Shudder. What do we do here at We Watch Shudder?
We watch Shudder.
Yeah, we do. What's Shudder, Michelle?
Shudder is a subscription service for horror and horror adjacent and sometimes thriller movies.
Right. And I that's very convenient, Michelle, that you mentioned sometimes thriller movies, because what is the movie we're talking about on tonight's episode? Brand new release, just dropped on the Shudder platform today. It is a Shudder original, in fact. What is it, Michelle?
It is Influencer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Well, episode's over. Have a nice day.
All right, well, have a good time, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. Hope you enjoyed the film. All right. It's
If this is your
super
first time
funny
tuning
podcast
in,
joke that nobody's ever done
hilarious.
before.
We're
We're the
hilarious.
best.
If this is your first time tuning in, we like to do a spoiler-free section, and then we do a quick recap for our weird fans who like our podcast but don't like watching horror movies. You weirdos. I love you guys, but you weirdos.
You're
And then we're going to
weird.
get into it a little bit more.
You're very weird. Peek
I love
behind
it.
the curtain. You guys didn't hear it, but I just had big yawn number 1 for the night. Influencer. That's the movie we're talking about. You guys know we sometimes we read the description from the Shudder website because it's good and concise and brief and doesn't give too much away. Other times gives away the farm. By the way, like Adam Quinnell giving away major moment in the Dungeons and Dragons movie last night. Haven't
He
seen the
was like,
movie
I don't want to
or
spoil
any
it.
of the trailers. Yeah, he says, "Oh, I don't want to spoil it for you," and then proceeds to fucking spoil it for me. Thanks, Adam.
I
Love
wish
you,
I
buddy.
had my microphone
No, it's-
turned on.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
At least for
I
me.
was
I'm
like,
sure there were
isn't
other
that-
people who were upset.
If anybody ever starts a conversation with, I don't want to spoil the movie, but at the end, it never goes well. I have
If
had
anybody
so
starts a
many
conversation
movies.
with, "I don't want to spoil the movie for you," but that's when you shout, "Just fucking stop right there," because whatever you're about to say, it's the same as "I'm not racist," but it's no, the thing you are about to say is definitely gonna be racist. The thing you are about to say is definitely gonna spoil the movie. Just fucking stop. Anyway,
What if I just spoil it? Bruce Willis
No,
is
don't
dead at the end of
spoil it.
Sixth Sense.
I mean, we're gonna.
The black helmet guy is the one Skywalker bro's daddy.
Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
Jesus.
I
Here
know
we
that.
go. Anyway,
He's
guys,
also
Influencer was
related
the
to
film.
the lady.
And this week, thankfully, the Shudder description is real concise and easy. Michelle, do you want to read it for these good people?
I would love to. I also appreciate that every time I am talking on this episode, it is after a lead-in question from you. I think we should just do that all the time. I am your puppet. You are the ventriloquist.
I didn't
Pull the
even realize that
strings.
was happening, and now I'm going to be super self-conscious about it. Thanks a lot.
I think it's great. I think it's good that you're just
I
like,
already
and now
feel
it's your
like
turn.
sometimes I over-dominate the podcast, like right now when I just talked right over what you were trying to say, and now I'm going to be
Y'all
Go ahead,
heard it
Michelle.
here.
You talk for a while.
JD is a dom. Anyway,
Oh,
influencer.
wow. Wow. JD is the furthest fucking thing from a dom.
Influencer, directed by Curtis David Harder.
Yeah, you're right. Let's just blow right past that. That's not a road we need to go down.
Yep. While struggling on a solo backpacking trip, social media influencer Madison meets CW, who allows her a more uninhibited way of living. But CW's interest in Madison takes a darker turn. A Shudder original. JD, why don't you hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
I'd love to. Michelle, thank you. This was solid. I enjoyed this quite a bit through. It's definitely more of a thriller than a horror movie. There are a couple of moments with a little bit of violence and a little bit of gore, but it's very light. And this would be very easily this isn't even like Silence of the Lambs. This is going to be a very easy movie for some of you to be able to go back and check out. There are some things I like about. Here's the thing I like about this movie that I really appreciate. This movie makes choices and goes with them. This movie could have tried to do that, some things are up to interpretation kind of thing, and it didn't. It said, no, this is what's going on. This is the story we're telling. I will say that by the time we got to the big finish, I myself was kind of hoping for a somewhat different finish. And so I found the way they played it out here ultimately to be kind of unsatisfying for me personally because I wanted something else. And we'll talk about that in detail, obviously, in the spoilers section. But I really enjoyed this one. I had fun with it. I think there are a couple of scenes in particular that are fucking great. The Shudder website gives this one a 4 out of 5 aggregate right now, and I'm right there with them, 4 out of 5.
Awesome. 4 out of 5 skulls from JD.
What are your spoiler-free thoughts, Michelle? There's your question.
Thank you so much for asking, JD. I did not want to sit here just tentatively waiting to have permission.
Ask her the question. It means you're tacitly giving her permission. Shut up, you chauvinist pig.
Oh, man. We're just having a nice therapy session today. Okay, my spoiler-free thoughts are that I enjoyed this. It did a lot of things that I expected, but it also did some things I didn't expect. And even when it went down the path that I expected it to, I wasn't disappointed. It was fine. It was a fun ride. There's some beautiful imagery. The lead lady, Cassandra Nod, I believe, N-A-U-D, Nod. Now?
Yeah, I think that's close enough for government work.
Yeah, she
that's a thing.
was fantastic.
Jeez, that's a thing my father used to say in the 90s. Jesus, who am I becoming?
Your father.
Wow.
Anyway, I am right there with you. I am also giving it a 4.
Nice.
We've had some good movies from Shudder lately. Thank you, Shudder. Unlike the beginning of the year, this has been a very nice last couple of weeks, even when we didn't love things.
I'm not gonna lie. Sam and the crew over there, they sure felt like they were front loading a little bit of stuff where it was like, we're giving some people some opportunities. I want to be positive here, right? But no, things are rampant. I mean, of course, we're getting into summer. Getting into, I don't know how much summer plays into streaming things as much as it does theatrical releases, but I have to assume there's a little bit of something that happens there, and things are getting solid, and this was another solid film.
Good job, Shudder. You guys are doing a good job. Also, just in case you are tuning in for the first time, we are not sponsored. They barely know that we exist.
I still pay these people 106 episodes. This is episode 107 of this show that we've done. These people still make us pay $6 a month to watch their movies.
Even though we've gotten people to sign up for them, Shudder.
Right?
No, it's okay. I'm glad we're not sponsored because we talk a lot of shit about some Shudder movies. So thank God.
But we do love Shudder. We love every one of you who's tuning in. We hope you love the show. Michelle, do you think it's about time to tell people about spoilers?
Why, yes, I do, JD. Thank you for the question. If
not
you
even doing it on purpose now. Oh my God, I'm a terrible person.
No, it's great. I'm loving it because I'm really. Anyway, drink every time JD asks me a question. You will be fucked up. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the spoiler section. If you did not see this movie and you do want to check it out, which I mean, you might. A lot of the reviews are just mad that this was not horror. It was a thriller. And we can get into that a little bit more. So, I mean, if you hate thrillers, first off, they're kind of the same in a lot of regards, but then you might not want to check it out. If you're like, hey, I can handle a good thriller every once in a while, go check it out. It's worth putting on, checking out once.
Yeah, this is one that I would genuinely encourage most of you, even if you don't typically watch the movies that we're talking about. 92 minutes, you shave the credits off of that. This one really comes in under 90. There's a good chance you're going to enjoy yourself. I think you should go check this out before we spoil it. It's definitely not going to be off-putting to anybody. Very easily digested film.
Drink every time JD says that you should watch a movie just because it's 90 minutes or less. Because I feel like that is your key.
Saying,
you're like, it's less than 90 minutes.
What I'm saying is that, like, if I had sort of the same opinion here that, like, I thought it was really solid. There were things it did that I liked, things I didn't like. Overall, like a Forrest Gump, not so horror, but it was 3 hours long. I would have to note that as, like, you know, you're definitely going to want to consider that fact if you're deciding whether or not you're going to want to go watch this. If for no other reason, then the more time they're away, the more likely it is they're not going to come back and finish the episode.
That's true. That's a very good reason. Yeah. Let's keep them hooked. Okay,
so,
spoilers
well, we're
section.
definitely not doing that right now. If you guys don't want any spoilers, when should they hit the pause button, Michelle?
Right now. Thank you for asking, JD. JD has put his microphone down, which is the perfect time to do the thing I love to do, which is to break down the plot of this movie for you weirdos who are not going to watch the movie. I wish that we recorded this because JD is not okay. Anywho, other people who are not okay, Madison from this movie was not okay. So Madison is an influencer, as the title of the movie implies. Wow, surprise. That's not the surprise of the movie. She goes to Thailand and her boyfriend was supposed to join her, but he didn't because he's a dick. More on that later. And so she is in Thailand and she meets this lady named CW, which, first off, if you have a nickname that is 2 letters and a shortened version, but then it's 4 syllables, you're doing nicknames wrong. That should be C-Dub. Are you kidding me? That's definitely not shorter than whatever her real name is. So C-Dub and Madison are hanging out, and C-Dub is like, I'm going to take you to this island. And Madison's like, I trust you, which no, you should not. And we find out that no, she should not, because C-Dub just leaves her on the island and she takes her phone and then she pretends to be her because somehow this woman is very good at doing deep fakes. And so she's posting for a while and then she's like, hey, I'm going to take a break from social media. And then she goes to stalk another influencer. And then, Madison's boyfriend shows up. And again, he's a dick. There's a lot of conflict where the new influencer that CW was interested in doesn't trust her. So then CW stabs her in the neck with her stiletto in one of my favorite kills of recent history because it made me go, ugh, I felt it. I felt that so hard. And then there's some conflict and eventually Madison is like, we had sex with the dickish boyfriend, and then the dickish boyfriend is like, I'm leaving, but wait, never mind, I'm not leaving because I think you did something to my girlfriend. And then there's a lot of back and forth, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, CW goes back to the island after killing the dick boyfriend, but guess what? Madison is channeling her inner Bear Grylls and she's still alive. She's drinking her urine. She's killing snakes and keeping them as a sleeping bag. I don't know what Bear Grylls does, but I would not be surprised if that man sleeps in an anaconda. And then she's like, hey, welcome back, bitch. You're dead. I have your boat now. But CW is not actually dead. She's laying there being like, oh, you bitch. I can't believe you did that. I'm mad, but I'm impressed. Roll credits. I cannot hear
Okay,
you if you're talking. Okay.
No, I'm terrified of asking any more questions, but no, I first of all think that is one of the best sort of step-by-step reenactments or retellings of the plot that you've done so far. So big thumbs up to you. I think you nailed
I
it
enjoy
here.
it.
Yeah, it was yeah, and just, a lot of intrigue, a lot of what is going on here. I thought this movie had some really interesting layers and some moments where I thought I knew what was happening, and then there was a shift, and I was like, oh, wait, maybe this is what's going on. I guess just starting from the beginning, this movie, I'm not going to lie, it hooked me right away. You've got like 3 or 4 minutes right up front where we're introducing Madison. We're figuring out very quickly that she's a social media influencer. She's on this vacation. They put this all together very, very quickly, these first few minutes. And they get to that scene where her passport has been stolen. And they did this beautiful thing. Curtis David Harder did some things with the directing on this that I really love. They did this beautiful thing where there's a shot right before she goes back to her hotel room and finds the place ransacked and her stuff stolen, where she has just split up with CW for the night after they went out with those 2 random dudes. And for whatever reason, we just stay on Madison as she's walking away. And CW is just lingering in the background for a little too long. And that, for me at least, was kind of the first moment where I'm like, okay. There was definitely a little bit of just the moment she walks up to her in the bar and was like, here, let me help you get out of this awkward situation. But that moment... like, I'm immediately like, okay, she's probably involved in taking this passport, right? Did you have that thought immediately there, or were you not suspecting CW at all at this point?
I was suspicious of CW from the beginning because I knew that this was
And I
on
just
Shudder.
asked another goddamn question.
I'm so sorry. I can start asking you questions. Were you suspicious of... Yes, I know the answer to that. No, I was suspicious from the beginning because it's a Shudder movie. So everyone
Right,
is
yeah, exactly.
potentially
I know
a
what I'm
bad
watching.
person. Yeah. So I didn't trust her from the start. So then I was like, the passport went missing. I know who it was. It was
Right.
the lady.
Right,
And
and then, of course, it's a matter of figuring out why and where this is leading. But where this movie really hooked me is once they get out to the island and they're sitting at that campfire, and that scene where CW just has that nice little monologue there. Like, it reminded me in a lot of ways of is a different kind of tension and a different sort of overall spirit, but reminded me a decent amount of that Mia Goth scene from Pearl, where the shot is just on her for a while, and she starts talking about it like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I am going to leave you out here, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and you're basically slowly going to die out here. I give you like 3 or 4 days. Like, I thought the way the tone shifted into that moment, and the actress, I just forgot her name. It's right here in front of me. Cassandra Nod.
Emily.
Cassandra. Her performance in that monologue is fantastic. And what really hooks it then is they come back out of it and they're having friendly conversation again, and then they roll the credits. And they have this extended montage sequence where one of them left the island, at least one of them, but you have no idea which one it is. And I loved the way they slowly brought you into that. And then I spent the next, 20 minutes, half hour just trying to figure out, like, ultimately, I mentioned that I thought... like one of the things I love about this movie is that it makes choices and goes with them, right? We gotta ultimately you get right to the end with a movie like this. A movie like this, I think, is so centered on how it has its finish. And the way this plays out is it turns out Madison did survive like a couple of weeks out there on this island, probably because she's seen every season of Survivor 7 times, because she hopes still to maybe one day be on Survivor.
Don't we all?
But and of course she's still out there, and it's she has in fact been abandoned, and she smashes her in the face with the shovel, and they fight and whatever, and then she ends up abandoning CW out there and going away on the boat. But there was a moment in here, and it starts in that scene on the beach where CW talks about how, like, I bet I could take over your social media and just keep doing it and nobody would ever even notice. And Madison says something to the effect of, man, that would be kind of nice. And then I felt that, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. And then it sort of drifted into the background, and I don't even remember what prompted it, but at some point down the line, that moment came back to me, and I immediately was so sure that this whole thing had been a plan between Madison and CW to get Ryan to Thailand and fucking kill him and run off together. Like, I thought she was going to get out there and still be alive, but it was going to be, like, that's why she was taking the body out there to show it to her, and then she'd be like, oh, this is this other lady who got in the way, sorry. Yeah. And the fact that it didn't quite go that way, it was kind of disappointing to me. But I really appreciate, because a lesser movie would have had CW get off the boat on that beach, look at something, smile, and then cut to black and never show us what she saw, and that's just it. And I would have been so fucking mad. And even though they didn't do what I personally was hoping for, I was just bitching the other day about movies that are just, and storytellers who are terrified of making choices. And I love that this movie did that, even though it wasn't the choice I would have made. End rant. Take it away.
Thank you. You should have said, would you like to take it away, though? Because now I can't speak. It was just a statement, JD. Oh, no.
Michelle, do you know how much time I genuinely spend in my life worried that I'm, like, being, like, some sort of, like, controlling the conversation, dominating everything asshole dude who never lets you get a word in edgewise? Like, I feel that in my soul all the time.
I mean, I feel like an annoying,
you're really driving
person.
some pins and needles into it on me right now, Michelle.
Okay, I will not ask you to ask me questions anymore, and then we will have a therapy session
to make
after
you feel
this.
bad.
I love roasting.
This is
people. I
what
can't
friends
help
do,
it.
right? This is what friends do.
Friends just make each other feel awful all the time.
Right, you make your buddies feel worse than anybody else in the world could ever make them feel to protect them from all those other assholes.
Absolutely, and I'm great at that. So that campfire scene, my favorite scene from the movie as well, because it
was
that
awesome.
Turn. Oh, it's just beautiful the way that it shows up. And what I was surprised about was because, I can't help it. I'm watching a movie. I'm trying to guess what they're about to do. I can't just live in the moment. I got to try to predict where is this going to go? I totally did not expect this to be a movie following CW. I thought it was going to be Madison on that island, and we were going to watch. And because we start out, from Madison's perspective and what she's doing in Thailand, and everything is about her, and CW is just this mysterious figure.
Like a stranded survival kind of thriller type movie.
Absolutely. So then when we followed CW, I was like, Whoa. Okay. I mean, I did not expect that. We started with Madison. We established who Madison was very solidly. She was the character we knew about. And then they're like, okay, she's off on an island now. The rest of the hour is about CW. And I did not expect that. And I think that's the moment when I went, okay, this movie is going to do some things and be a little bit surprising. And it was never like incredibly shocking outside of the stiletto death scene because oh my god.
Oh God, that was so. I'm the
Oh
same. You said a while back when you first mentioned it that it just made you like
yeah.
you could feel. I could feel it. She put that stiletto right in the middle of her throat, and I was like, "Oh fuck, no!" Oh,
Yeah.
and then of course they don't actually show you that because
I
it's
wish
not
they
that
had.
kind of movie. But the
Mhm.
sound effect is perfect, and you know exactly what just happened. And oh God,
The
really
sound
well
effect
executed.
or the subtitle is wet scrunch or wet crunching. It was not a squelching. I was very upset. I would have loved to
Yeah, I
add that
think it
to the
was
website.
wet flesh crunching. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
it
like
was
that.
it was still a great subtitle though. Uh
Fabulous.
yeah, so from that moment on I was surprised by this. I don't know what the budget on this movie was. It's got to be like I don't know, middle for Shudder, not like a Avatar kind of one, but it's clearly a little bit more high budget because the way that they actually show this lavish lifestyle that CW is trying to take over. I think that added a huge thing to this about like the risks of what
Mm-hmm.
she's doing. And she's not just taking over some random woman who lives in just like a single person townhouse and it's
Right.
just kind of like taking it little by little. It's this big, high stake, rich person lifestyle. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that also meant, or like added to the appeal for me because I was like, oh man, this is high risk and you're going to do it again. It's been less than 2 weeks. How many people are you going to kill? You're doing this very quickly. Also, one of the things near the end, when they first get out to that island, Madison sees that log with the tallies and wonders what that was
Mm-hmm.
about. And
CW sees it.
I or CW sees it. Okay, I can't remember who. I just remember the what the log looked like, and so that foreshadowing that when CW sees it when she's going back to the island and realizes there has been tallies added to that, I thought that was really cool. It does make me wonder, like Madison. What are you doing? You start your own tallies. Why would you add on to these other tallies?
Yeah.
Now you're
Yeah.
going to forget about that and think you've been there an extra 4 days. Come on, Madison. You're apparently smart enough to survive an island, but you're not smart enough to figure out that you need your own tallies. You don't just add on to somebody else's days. God, Madison, you're infuriating. But the way that this movie does those little hints of what's to come and you don't realize it until later, I just plain enjoyed this. A lot of people were just plain mad that it was a thriller and not a horror. But then I really got into my head about what's the difference between a thriller and a horror because I used to not know, and now I can tell you what a thriller is, like an example, and I can tell you what a horror example is. And then I started getting really in my head of like, but what is the definition? And horror is when somebody is coming to kill you, and it doesn't matter why; they're just coming to kill you. A thriller, you have to figure out the reason why. And that's what makes this a thriller. We got to know what CW's up to. We got to see from
Yeah,
her
thrillers
perspective.
tend to be a little bit more about like solve the mystery, whereas horror movies are more about like fucking people getting
Survive.
fucked up. It's gross. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just survive.
you're not wrong. Um,
I am never
Another
wrong.
thing, then also that I wanted to point out here, just so looking back at some of the scenes in the movie, um, there is a moment in here at the beginning of the film in that island scene, and it's maybe my favorite bit of dialogue in the movie because it's two lines shared between them, and it comes and goes so quickly. But I thought there was so fucking much packed into those lines. After they've had the whole thing where CW talks about how she's gonna strand her there and all this other, and then they have the big chuckle of like, "Oh, you're not really gonna do that," and she says the thing about like I could take over your social media, and then Madison's like, "Oh, that actually would be kind of nice." At one point, CW asks her, "Does it make you happy?" And I feel like the words in the response from Madison are very deliberate. Because the question is, does it make you happy? And her response is, it doesn't make me feel alone. And I thought there's just so much baggage and pathos that I could also immediately understand wrapped up in that. Like, it's like, I there's something about that specific phrasing. It doesn't make me feel like that's her standard. Now is just don't make me feel like I'm alone out here, and I'll be. There's just so much in that one line. I really loved that.
Yeah, that kind of feeds into what I was saying about how the beginning we very much establish who Madison is as a person, and I feel like we never understand CW to that extent after spending pretty much the entire movie with her. They go really hard on giving us Madison's story, but not as much CW's.
Yeah, I think, with all of that, I definitely understand why you would think that this movie is going to be Madison's story. The way they put everything together in that first sort of prologue, first act part of the movie, like, it definitely feels that way. And that also, I think, is part of what played into my not being sure who we were seeing in that credit sequence until they do finally show us the face. I thought that was just really, well, I guess we see the wig, and we can start to assume from there probably. But I thought they used that expectation really smartly in that sequence. There are other things this movie does. This movie puts together red herrings so beautifully. So some of them right out in the open, some of them more subtle. I love how for a very brief moment, they very clearly imply that CW is starting to think that maybe somehow Madison is already off the island and following her. Like, and I thought for a minute this was going to turn into some weird cat and mouse game like that, incorporating social media things, and then they leave that story aside. But I thought, like, that's a story that I hope somebody tells someday. Like, I thought that was a great idea that they could have gone with. I thought that guy Rupert at the bar, he's there at the beginning, and he's just kind of a schlub, and it serves as the excuse for CW to enter Madison's life. But then they bring him back. And in that moment they bring him back, there was a part of me that's just like, is this fucking creep involved in this whole thing somehow as well? Like, is this the guy who went and stole her passport for CW while they were out taking a walk? Like, is he the mastermind behind the whole thing? And then they just sort of bleed away back from that. They did so. It's a very classic what's going on thriller mystery. Yeah, it's not reinventing the wheel in any way, but this is a type of story that, even though we've seen a lot of this before, I still think that as long as you do it well, it can be really enjoyable, and I liked this one a lot.
I agree. And you have covered all the things that I had on my list to talk about. So if you want to rant for 10 minutes, go for it. You don't have to toss it back to me anymore. I will be drinking my Red Bull.
No, I don't really have a whole lot else to say, except that if you didn't go watch the movie before we started spoiling it, I still recommend that you go check it out. I think there's a good chance you'll enjoy it. It's really beautifully photographed. They shot it on location in Thailand and Canada, and you can tell it's gorgeous. And I imagine shooting it on location in Thailand probably helped their budget a little bit, which they got real good production value out of this thing. I really enjoyed that. It's a great film. We always got to plug stuff. Guys, first thing I want to ask you, oh, excuse me, big cough. We've been lax about asking you if you do enjoy our show, if you could go to the platforms where you listen to our show and just like leave a rating. I don't even care if you write a review, even if you just leave a rating, I don't even care if it's a 5-star. Give us what you honestly feel. But the more ratings we can get on file, the more it's going to help our reach and allow us to keep spreading the podcast out there to more people. So if you have just a few seconds to leave that rating and maybe a review for us, we'd really appreciate that. Where are we on social media again, Michelle?
We are on Facebook, Instagram,
Twitter.
Dear God,
Yeah.
I actually legitimately forgot.
TikTok.
And we are on TikTok, and I will be doing another TikTok video very soon because JD and I did a thing at the nerd convention last night, but I don't think he wants as part of it to go online. So
do whatever you want with it. I really don't care. It's fine.
But there was some fun stuff yesterday. Christina Mintz Plaus was my character, and she was really fun. And JD was a horror
really
movie
good time.
conspiracy.
No, definitely do whatever you would like with that footage. I'm totally cool with it.
Excellent. Whatever I like with it. Awesome.
That
So
footage
many
from
things.
Mario Party a few years back, though, you make sure that never sees the fucking light of day.
I have the 3-hour video of Mario
here's
Party,
my
and it will never come out.
Here's my question, Michelle. If none of us ever want it to see the light of day, why does it still even exist? Why haven't you just destroyed it?
I don't destroy pictures or videos. I can't. I save everything.
Will you allow me to come to your home and delete it for you?
You're going to have to find it. It is not named Mario Party in case somebody breaks in and tries to find the video.
Why do I suddenly feel like that video is all part of some Michelle Roller knee Pearson or whatever? Maybe it's the other way around. I don't fucking know. Why do I feel like you've got some grand scheme you're hatching where someday down the road you are going to blackmail the shit out of all of us?
No, that will never see the light of day. Many people at the convention have this thing about like, we all just need to like sit down and have just like a private like convention volunteer thing where we just watch it. And I'm like, no one will ever see that. They will not see it. I might have the only copy, and it is never coming out. For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to briefly tell you that...
Everybody's like, what the fuck are they talking about? All of a sudden, there's like a Mario Party, and apparently something terrible happened.
Something terrible did happen. We perform at conventions sometimes, and like 6 years ago or somewhere around there, the comedians got together and decided to play Mario Party at the convention, which was a fun concept. And the audience was divided into 4 sections where wherever you were sitting, you were cheering for that person. So the people in the audience were cheering, and if you wanted to try to sabotage the other players, you could give them alcohol, which sounded hilarious in theory. But
it was a great idea in theory.
We did not realize how competitive people would be.
Well,
I have not blacked out very many times in my life. I blacked out that night, and when I woke up, I was surprised none of us wound up in the hospital. It was a bad idea.
Here's what I remember, is Mario Party started at, like, what, midnight?
Yep.
But we were all at the convention, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I started drinking fucking Western North Dakota Plains people apple liquor, like super high test, probably like 120 proof whatever apple liquor out of a fucking moonshine jar at 9 p.m.
But
I was already well on my way to a blackout before Mario Party ever started. And here's what I remember. I remember going up on stage to play Mario Party, and then I remember the vague impression of maybe a memory of going to the bathroom. And then I woke up in a chair right outside the Mario Party room. And for the rest of my conscious experience of that night, I have only auditory, non-visual memories of one of the other people who will remain nameless because of what I'm about to say. He and I, he was as drunk as I was, we made it home. and that's a terrible thing. Do not ever do that. That's why this video is never like this isn't one of those, oh, we all got way too wasted and it was crazy. This was like, oh, we crossed some lines this night and nobody needs to know that this happened. And we always tell everybody about it.
I watched the video once and I immediately stopped partway through and went and apologized to my husband.
See, this is the part, though, Michelle, that it makes it problematic, because what everybody really thinks is it's not fair that you got to see it and nobody else does.
Do you want to see it? I will share the video with the people who participated in Mario Party.
I would love to know how much of a fucking fool I made of myself that
You are more than welcome to watch it. I am not sharing the actual file, so I will have it on my laptop and you can watch, because I know it's safe with me and everyone should know it is not coming out.
Is it?
It's 3 hours and something, so way longer than any movie that you would recommend.
These people have all tuned out. Either that or they're like, oh my God, Michelle.
It is legendary.
What if we did a Patreon? Where it was like, if we get to X amount of dollars,
we have to have everybody sign off who showed up in that video, including the random man from the audience who took over for one of the other players and who I aggressively hit on and kept telling him he was hotter than everybody else on that stage, and I have no idea what he looked like, so we're not going to find him.
I keep forgetting that civilians were involved in this whole thing. Well, we've completely lost the entire audience, but that's okay. We didn't do it until after we had finished talking about the movie. We did the plugs for the social media. We didn't plug the website. That's cool. If you're still around, it's wewatchshudder.com. Drop us an email, mail@wewatchshudder.com. Check out the social medias. You got anything else to add, Michelle?
I just have to say that when the Mario Party movie was announced...
That was another question. Son of a bitch.
When the Mario Party movie was announced, I was like, oh God, it's the convention Mario Party movie. Except dubbed by Chris Pratt. An even bigger nightmare than original.
Oh my God. Well, say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.